Hi, my name is Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. On today's podcast, I chat with my son Brendan as we come to the end of what was an amazing year for him. The first movie that he co-wrote and directed, Christy, hit movie screens around the world, winning awards and great acclaim. And his first full feature documentary, Gaeltra, has just premiered at the Cork International Film Festival and scooped the Best New Irish Feature Award. The future is looking very bright, and from the outside looking in, it may appear as he enjoys instant success at every turn. But as we all know, nothing happens like that. On the podcast, Brendan chats about these successes, but more importantly, he takes us through all the other stepping stone projects that came before these, where he learned his craft, from the very first school projects to music videos and commercial work. In any career, you can't cheat the learning curve, but you need to seize the opportunities along the way when you can gain all of that valuable learning. He also chats about the perils of working in such an unpredictable industry and how to keep yourself sane in the process. Let's hear from Brendan. Brendan Canty, a huge welcome to the Win Happy podcast, episode 350.
Wow, congratulations. I didn't realize you were hitting those sort of numbers. Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, I've a colossal listenership that does not include my mother, your grandmother. But here we are. What can we do?
Here we are.
I've had you on the podcast before, probably quite an early stage. And of course, you were making little guest appearances here and there because we did a series of podcasts throughout the premieres of Christy and everything else. But I wanted to have a big conversation with you about the year that you've had, and we'll try to pick through the stepping stones between the stuff you did in the early days and where it brought you to now. So without a doubt, this year was a pinnacle. Everyone knows about Christy, the huge success of it, the award-winning film. Mm-hmm. It's done the rounds of the cinemas. It's gone around the globe in terms of film festivals. It can now be watched on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Is it YouTube as well? I'm not sure.
I don't know. It seems to be Apple TV in Ireland, but I feel like it's in different places, in different territories.
Yeah. How do you feel about it now?
Great. Incredibly proud. It's kind of surreal. Like, I didn't even know it went online, you know? It just kind of ended up online and kind of something we should have been told, I guess. But I don't know. It was such an amazing experience. You can't really dwell on it. It's kind of on to the next thing is kind of where my mind is at, really. You know, it's been such a privilege and a pleasure and such an amazing journey, like beyond my wildest dreams, like getting to make a movie in your hometown featuring all these amazing people, and then it to come out and have this critical acclaim that it's done. It's like stuff dreams are made of, really, but you can't let it go to your head too much, and you say you're, happy with it. And I'm just always just thinking of the next thing now, really. And still doing Christy stuff as well. Like, it's coming out in France in January. So I had a call with some school teacher over there who's putting together a program to send it out to all the schools in France. Like, it's mad. Like, so it's still, there's some European awards. It's up for the Lux Awards. So there's still there's press and stuff always. It's coming out in territory. So it's still not done yet, but it feels like the bulk of it is kind of came, and it's now time to move forward,
Yeah. Like so many other parts of your story, this was the first for you. It was the first time doing a full feature movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Massive deal. And I was very ready for it. And just, it was everything you wanted it to be, to have the time and to work on the time. And we were very privileged to have the money to make something of that scale. And just the time allows you to really make it what you want to make it and stuff like that. It was a first, but it won't be my last. I loved it.
You mentioned there about having the money to do it. That requires people having faith in you. So you had never directed a movie before. Why were you supported on this to such a degree?
I mean, I haven't directed a feature before, but I've done plenty of everything else. Our music videos, short films, I think would be the things that really count towards the features. And, you know, places like Screen Ireland and BBC Film, like they're film bodies set up by taxpayers' money. So like they're there to support and nurture upcoming filmmakers. And I'd made a series of short films. I made my first one, For You, with Barry Keoghan in it. And then I got to make a focus short, which is a scheme through Screen Ireland, which was Christy, the short film, which kind of became a wonderful proof of concept. But focus short is kind of a pathway scheme to, like, you know, if you can make a short like that, prove yourself, they're kind of developing you for a feature, like, you know. So they're very good at these pathway sort of schemes. So like if you kind of get in the system and if you're involved in all of their development kind of schemes, they liked to see people progress, you know. So I was getting that support, and if you kind of deliver at every step of the way, they can trust you, you know. But I also wasn't just me. I had good people around me. I had very experienced producers. You know, Rory Gilmartin in Ireland had been in Screen Ireland, had been in Element Pictures. So he had lots of experience. Marina Brackenbury in the UK, lots of experience. And Meredith and Jan de Man, she was a very experienced director who was kind of... he was an executive producer on the film, but, you know, names like that can give people faith that, okay, look, if Brendan does struggle, he's got the right people around him. So, and then we had a great story, like, you know, we had a great story, and we had a great proof of concept in the short film, like, you know, which everyone was going mad for when they saw it back in 2019. So,
yeah, and in a way, you talk about a great story, but what you really had was a good concept, didn't you? You had the bones of a good story, and actually bringing that to life properly before anyone greenlit any filming. What was all that about?
That took 3 years, and that took a lot of very clever people. We did that mainly with the BBC. Screen Ireland came on later, and our producers, Meredith, Marina and Rory, who just worked with us meticulously through every draft. And it was very interesting because at the start, because me and Alan really found ourselves, okay, we've gotten development money from BBC Film, like imposter syndrome is like knocking at the door, and you're like, well, how did we end up here? And there's no guarantees you're going to get your film made, you know. They kind of pay for 2 drafts, and after those 2 drafts they can say this isn't working or we'll pay you for more, you know. So we were like, okay, let's make sure that what we give them is a movie, you know, that works. And what we gave them was definitely a movie that was structured like a movie, but, you know, it had the 3-act structures. It was, I remember Googling 3-act structures, you know, kind of filmmaking for dummies sort of a thing, like, and because I don't have, me and Alan don't have that training. Like we haven't studied screenwriting. We haven't been to film school, you know, so I learned to structure stories from making music videos and stuff like that. So we were very much like, okay, we need to like learn some theory here. And BBC saw, right, I remember the first draft, they were like, this is great, but it feels very structured. And what it's missing is some of those amazing, odd, offbeat, wonderful stories that you really sold us when you were pitching this, you know, about these characters in Cork and these larger than life characters like Robot and stuff like that. And they were like, we want more of that. So they were like, forget about structure, just lean into like all of that stuff. And that kind of really freed us up to be like, okay, let's just throw everything we have at this, you know. And so we did that. But that's, you know, when I say we did that, we go back to the drawing board for maybe 2 or 3 months, go back and forth with our producers on a script, back and forth until we feel like it's ready, send it to BBC. They take a month to get back, and then they come back with more notes, you know, and bit by bit they pull structure back into it. And it was just an amazing process, probably long and frustrating at times, but worth it in the end, you know, like, because Like, there was no stone left unturned in that film. Like, you get to some stage, like, imagine you've just done 2 months amount of work on a script, and then they might say, we'd love to see a pass of this script, which is like Shane's POV. So what does Christy the film look like if the script was from Shane's point of view? And you're just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, you know, it's like, because you know that's not going to be the movie at the end of the day. It's just one big exercise that's going to take you fucking 3 months, like, you know. But what it means is, in every scene, because you might go to write the script and like in Shane's scenes, or sorry, in one scene, you're just writing a script, but you're not exactly, you're like, what does Shane say back to Christy, blah, 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 blah. But you're not exactly thinking of like, where did Shane come from before this scene? Where's he going after? What mood is he in? Like, what is Shane feeling when Christy says this to him and stuff like that? And like, so you start to like spend 2 months on just a version of the script, which is like Shane's experience through the story. And then you might do one with Stacey, and like, and you start to get this amazing, rich, like, world, because, you know, in real life, you go and step into a room and like, you know, Deirdre's might have had a completely different experience of the day to you are. And there's 2 people who've woken up in the morning, who've, maybe one of you had a bad sleep, maybe one of you had a good sleep, you know. It's like, maybe one of you got a shitty phone call, whatever. It's like, everyone has a story, you know, and it's just like, maybe one, and we spent so much time finding out everyone's story to make every scene so rich and to really leave no stone unturned. And all of that work was really encouraged by all the people around us, you know. So it was very long, but it was actually cool that it was during COVID as well, so we had nothing else to be doing. It was amazing. Like, looking back now, I'd be like, because there was always times where you'd be like, this script is ready, I hope they green light it now after about a year, and you get frustrated when they don't. But then you're looking back and you're like, oh, thank God they didn't, because the film is so much better for the extra 2 years that went into writing it, you know.
It sounds like you recruit someone to do a job, and there's a whole load of skill sets that you think are required. But in a way, you give the person the job because you believe, okay, at its core, I know this person can deliver it. I know they don't have all of the skill sets, but we'll hold their hand and work through it with them, because the core is there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, they saw a short film that was brilliant. They saw filmmakers who were lovely and enjoyable to talk to, who had these exciting ideas, and they wanted to support that, you know, and they gave us time and space to do that, you know.
So that was a first. And we trust that you haven't done it before, and you just go for it. And you can understand as well how in many circumstances where there's big money involved and all that kind of thing, you want to go with the sure thing. You'll go with the people who've done this loads of times and big track record. So that was your first.
Yeah.
Then you had another first this year, which I barely knew about, which is full-length documentary for T.G. Carr, which was the same as Christie's after winning awards already, called Gaeltra. And you'd never done anything like that before, but they trusted you with it. Can you talk to me about Gaeltra?
Yeah, so the idea for that started making Christy. Like, me and Colm Hogan, who's the cinematographer on Christy, we kept saying to each other, oh, like, somebody needs to make a proper documentary on the cabin. Like, there's been plenty of nationwide sort of news stories on the cabin, but it's all very surface level. Like, these kids make rap, they made the spark, blah, 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 blah. The way this place transforms these young people, I didn't know how. I was like, there's just such an amazing energy, and all the kids and young people that come through there are just the most amazing people I've ever met. I was like, and it's because of this place, and what is it about this place that does this? I was like, someone needs to make a documentary. And Colm had shot some documentaries that had been made through a scheme by T.G. Carr called the Ildona scheme, which is supported by T.G. Carr and the Arts Council. And it has to be bilingual, and it's kind of about the arts, and they like stories that come from like marginalized communities and stuff like that. And kind of, they're always pushing for also modern stories about the Irish language and stuff like that, you know, not the old Peg Sayre sort of a thing, you know, they're looking for more progressive stuff. So we kind of ticked a lot of boxes. And to be honest, at the start, I was like, I wanted to make a story about the cabin. I didn't know where the Irish language thing would fit in. I'm not a Gaelgore. But we put a pitch in and we're very loose about how the Irish language thing would fit. But went in, did a pitch, and maybe a month or two later, I can't remember, got a call saying we got the funding. And then we've got to go make it. So that was great. But I was also a bit like, I've never made a documentary before. I don't particularly want to be a documentary filmmaker. I would say one of the hardest things about making a documentary would be the research you have to put in. You know, if you want to research a topic, you've really got to make those relationships, make people trust you, really find out about everyone's backstory and what's going on and what the story you want to tell. But all of that research had kind of been done by me in the last few years by osmosis, by just getting to know all these people in the cabin. Anyway, I knew all of them. They all trusted me. So I had such a head start, and all I really had to do for research was pick who I wanted from the cabin and meet them and interview them, you know, just chat to them like this and ask them questions about the cabin and their relationship with the Irish language and stuff like that. And so once I got those stories from all of them, I went away and just tried to write a script for it. And when I say script, just kind of like, not like dialogue script, but just kind of like, okay, at the start we talk to Aaron and, you know, what he's into. His thing is all about confidence and yada, yada, yada. And just finding that rhythm and stuff like that. But
just like a few building blocks type of thing, or a thread.
Building blocks, you know, and documentaries are kind of like, you get enough building blocks and you kind of shoot enough of them and you find a few stories, and then in the edit you kind of find how they'll work together and stuff like that. But I was being a bit bold because call it bold or call it lazy, I'm not sure, but I was like, I don't watch that many documentaries, and I was like, I actually feel like I don't really want to watch that many others. I was like, why don't I just try and write this in the way that I think it should be, and maybe it'll turn out different or something like that, you know? So I kind of wrote it like a film. And then like a lot of documentaries will have a similar structure to film, like, you know, someone is going towards a goal, you know, and like at some stage in the film, maybe 3/4 to it, they'll hit a roadblock or something, and they'll have to overcome it. They'll come to a challenge or something, and then there's a bit of drama and how they get through it. And documentaries kind of follow the same structure. It's just a classic storytelling structure. But I was told by someone very early on who's very experienced in documentaries that you don't need to do that at all. She was like, do it whatever way you want. And I thought that was really cool. So like, there's no real tension in my film at all. It's quite a big hug of a documentary. And someone said, I was like, oh, it wouldn't work if there's no tension or challenge. And I was just like, I don't know. So there was a bit of like unknown. I was like, will this work? But I think it did. But it was very challenging because I shot a bunch of stuff and I had my plan. But I remember it was Alan Quigley who edited. Christy was going to edit it first, and he's never really edited a doc before. And like, editing a doc is a different ball game. It's like editing a feature film. You've got the script and the dialogue, so you know what each scene should be. But with a doc, you're kind of landed a bunch of footage and you're given like, this is kind of what we want from the scene, but it's kind of up to you to pull the film together as the editor, like, and a lot of footage to go through and stuff. And I think Alan kind of bricked it a bit when he saw all the workload involved, and he didn't think he had the skill set or the time, so he panicked. And I wasn't sure whether he was panicking because he thought it was shit and it wasn't there. And so that was kind of scary, actually. And then we were going to put it with another editor in a few months, but I had to wait a few months. But it was so worth it because this guy Wangus Dinsmore came on board as an editor, and he's done docs before, and he's had a brain for it, and he pulled it all together pretty much exactly how I imagined it in my script. So it was all there, but I remember not having this experience in docs kind of really scared me for a while. Like, but yeah, it was really fun. And I've just kind of went on a ramble there, but the Irish language thing was really interesting because, as I said, we were like, we wanted to do a documentary on the cabin and how will this fit? And then it kind of organically just kind of worked out really well for lots of different reasons. One, I think if I was to do a documentary on the cabin, and I probably would have tried to give them a challenge to write a bunch of songs, but they're so good. It's like writing songs in English is hardly a challenge to them. So getting them all to write these songs in Oscuelga was a proper challenge, and like they needed a challenge to be able to like get to understand what the place is like, you know, and how they've developed as people, like, because there's no point just filming them after they've kind of developed into amazing people because they're already there, you know. It's like, so that was cool. But then also I just learned that there was this Irish language rapper and poet from Listowel and Kerry, Seamus Barra Sulawan, who was about to start these workshops up the cabin anyway to teach kids Irish. So that was a big coincidence. And we were like, okay, and he's a really interesting character. So it's like we can kind of get this guy in as kind of, you know, we can just follow that story. He's coming in to teach these guys how to make Irish. And then another very interesting thing, the secondary school up in Hollyhill, Terence McSweeney, which has a lot of ties with the cabin because it's right next to it and a lot of their students go there and they're so supportive. They have a Gael school as part of the school, and that started not too long ago, a few years ago. And I think everyone up the north side was kind of like, oh, sure, no one will be interested in learning Irish up here. And there was a bit of, there was a lot of kind of people being a bit negative, thinking academically they wouldn't be up for it. But it's actually been a success story, and the numbers are growing up there. And the kids who are doing it, their confidence is going up massively. And apparently a lot of the exam results and all of that sort of stuff is going really well. So that's been a huge success story up the north side. And then there's one more thing. I was like, UCC are doing a project up there, or the Irish language department, called Barna Canuck, where they're just bringing Irish language to the public up in the north side, like just casual get together, speak Irish sort of sessions. And again, they were like, will anyone show up? But they have people out the door, just old people just wandering into this hall, sitting down with Irish speakers and just chatting away. And they were like, holy shit. I was like, apparently there's a real love for the language up there in more than any other neighbourhoods they've come across in Cork, like, you know. So there was a lot of really interesting things that came about, which was actually became a really cool story. But overall, just the big exploration there, and for me, was just how, I mean, I think we can both agree how bad Irish is taught in school. You learn to just hate the fucking language. Like, but here are these kids learning it through hip hop and rap, and a teacher who isn't a teacher. He's this rapper like them, and he's having crack with it, and he's allowing them to like invent their own slang. And like, you know, they're like, oh, did I say that word wrong? Can I say it this way? And he's like, say it whatever way you fucking want. It's not Irish, you know, like come up with your own slang. Like just freedom and fun. And like, they just pick it up so easy. And there was so much to it. Like, you know, you're just like, and for me then, and like, I was hoping I could speak more Irish up there, but I didn't. I was very insecure, especially being around Gaelgores and stuff like that. But now after it, I'm just like, I have a totally different perspective on the language. It's actually quite beautiful, like, you know, and it's like quite positive language, you know, and it's like, you know, there's no curse words in Irish, like, you know, it's like, it's, I don't know, it's really interesting, very poetic. And when it's taught in that sort of way, it's just like, it's not the language we were taught in school at all. Like, and the power of music in as a way of teaching it just changes the game, like, you know, and then of course the power of music and rap in making these kids as kind of well-rounded and as amazing as they are is kind of incredible. And that was one big learning from the doc that I took from it. It's like, I think in a nutshell, what the cabin has done to these kids, like imagine if you're a kid and you've been through some stuff or whatever, and you don't want to talk about it and you're kind of shut down over it. But this is rap music, and this is totally different than like going into a room with someone and talking about your feelings. Like, and it's kind of like, here's a microphone, here's a beat like Eminem or Dr. Dre or whatever. And like, what do you want to say? You know, these kids just come out with the stuff they wouldn't come out with otherwise, you know, and they're handing them a mic and they're basically empowering them to use their voice and speak and tell their story. And like, that's kind of healing for them or something like that. And sorry, I know that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but it kind of was a whole journey, the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed, Brendan, that you didn't give me some of that in Irish, Oskelga.
Oh man. Ní hiigim Absolutely.
Well, what I loved about it, and I understand, like that was premiered at the Cork International Film Festival. As a Corkonian, we're so proud to have you premiering something in our local town. And what's more, you won
the best new Irish feature film.
Yeah, and there was some really stiff competition when it comes to that. Like Saipan was one of the other films in that category. What I love about it was it engaged you with the stories about those young people. It did, as usual, as you did with Christy, emotionally, you were bought into each of their individual little stories. You're talking about courage and all that kind of thing. That young girl who was being bullied, who was a little bit different. And the introduction of the Irish language into all of that mix. So it was doing that job for T.G. Carr, the job I'm sure that they wanted it to do. And what was amazing then was in the Q&A after the film, it actually facilitated a big conversation about the Irish language in a way that I'm sure T.G. Carr would have just prayed that could happen. Everything I'm sure they would want. And, you know, you've all the other initiatives. So many ads have to be put out there in Irish. A lot of these kind of like forcing people to do things. Whereas that conversation, and in all honesty, the way we were taught and everything, I absolutely detested the language and shut myself down from learning it. And I would still be in that camp. But it opened my eyes and my ears to a different conversation about it. But you were able to do that and tell that in a beautiful way. So what did you learn from Christy that helped you with the documentary?
Probably lots of stuff, but I would say it just gave me such a confidence, you know, like a confidence in what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and a confidence in, like, you know, even like I'm playing with €135,000 budget here on a documentary I've never done before. To myself, I'm like, I've never done this before. To myself, I'm like, I'm not even going to watch any other documentaries. I'm just going to fucking just make this up for myself. That's just pure confidence. Like, you know, that's just pure me being like, I can do this and it's going to work out. And I think that belief really helped. And then I think tonally as well, just tonally understanding how I want everything to feel. I think how I want everything to feel is a big thing. Like, I wanted it to feel like The Cabin, you know, and I kind of am quite good at knowing how to capture those things. And there's so many stuff. I just have to keep thinking, but like
the cinematography and the music, you brought your film approach, the drama and the bigness, if that's a word. All of that. That's the cinematography, but it's that combination of the cinematography with the music, that big movie feel.
The cinema.
Yeah, you brought all of that to a documentary about the Irish language and stuff. So, yeah.
What's interesting about that is so on Christy we had parameters, right? So we had, in how we shot it, it was all handheld, the whole thing. But I have lots of experience in everything through making music videos, you know, through working with drones and aerial shots, working with Steadicam, slow motion, all these toys that I love to play with, which we decided not to use in Christy, and rightly so. On this doc, I was so excited to go back up there and shoot the same world as Christy, but with all of these. So like, I was just craving shooting the water tower and big wide aerial shots because it's so amazing, and making it feel different, or shooting Sophia going down the street in slow motion on roller skates. You know, it's like, and I was very excited to make this so cinematic. And if anything, you'd expect Christy to be, you know, the bigger budget film to have more of that cinema. But I liked how I could make something quite low key feel like that as well. And then when we're in the scenes with them in the cabin or whatever, it goes back to Christy world, kind of handheld and intimate. So I actually think Christy would have taught me, and everything I've done really taught me, I'm definitely very confident, and I have the knowledge of knowing what scenes require what tools, you know. If this is an intimate scene just of them chatting in the cabin, I wanted to feel really real, so you might shoot it quite handheld, you know, and loose. Whereas if it's epic scene of Sophia roller skating by the water tower. It's slow motion, dramatic aerial shots or whatever.
Will you do more documentary work?
I don't think so. It's not particularly what I want to do. I never say never. It's great that I've done one now and I have the experience. Like, I think if I came across the right subject and I was really passionate about it, then you never know, like this, or the opportunity arised, or who knows. Like, I probably would have said this before I made this as well. Like, I really enjoyed it. I thought I loved the looseness of it. I loved filming it, and I had the right brain for it when we were on set, but it's definitely not my main thing, so I really cared about this. So maybe if I care about something enough in the future to make a documentary on it, I will, but...
So is it about the subject matter or the format?
A bit of both, because there's a lot of ties between this and Christy. I mean, the community in the cabin really inspired Christy, but Christy didn't tell the story of the cabin, so I felt I'd love to do a documentary on that. But I don't think I'd be the sort of person to want to... I'd be like, I'd love to tell the story about the cabin, but I know nothing about the cabin, so I'll get funding and spend the next year researching and hanging out in the cabin. I was like, I don't think I'd have the patience for that. But the fact that I kind of had done that anyway for my other film kind of helped me. So, like, my friend Gar O'Rourke is a documentary filmmaker now, and he's been doing a documentary on over tourism, and it's focused all around the Cinque Terre in northwest Italy, and but he's been out there for the last year filming and researching and stuff like that, and that's not for me. I'd go, that's just not for me. So I don't know.
Then again, there's the research element of it, and there's the production of the documentary, and those two things don't necessarily have to be done with the same person, I'm guessing. I'm sure, I don't know, Brendan, if Liverpool Football Club rang you up and said, this particular season we wanted to do a documentary about Diogo Jota and his brother, and the journey that followed after with his family and the team and all of that, you'd be like, maybe. I'll be there with my camera. And
exactly. You never know. And I mightn't want to tell that. I know, you never know. Like, that's what I mean. It's just like,
it's storytelling.
Of course it is. And it's just the type of storytelling that I don't think would be my main thing, but I would have said that 2 years ago, and then this opportunity came up and I did it and I loved it and it worked out and I'm very proud of it. So, and I think we did something very important. So never say never, I don't think it'll be my main thing, but
what was your stepping stone to Christy, the movie?
Oh God. Music videos. First, I'll try and do this in a big nutshell now. Music videos, probably first, making very experimental music videos, like atmospheric music videos. And I would say music videos that were trying to capture a feeling or a tone of a song. That was the first thing.
Give me an example of one of those early ones that you did.
Well, the first music video I made was an unofficial music video. It was a college project for a Canadian band called Broken Social Scene. And the album's called Feel Good Lost. And the music is very dreamy, emotive, kind of capturing this idea, feel good lost, or like the idea of like, if you're lost in life, but you can not have too much idea where you're going in life, but you could be having a good time, and just like that feeling, or even very practically, you could be lost in the woods, but it's absolutely beautiful. I don't know, whatever. It's like there was a real feeling that album captured, and I was like, I'd love to try and capture that visually, And I think a big part of filmmaking is trying to capture this cohesive tone, and like an atmosphere. And I became quite good at that. Then I wanted to make narrative videos, so I made the Hosier video, which gave me a lot of confidence to tell stories. It was kind of the first short film I made, and it did very well. And then I was like, okay, people are kind of being impacted by my storytelling now. So then suddenly I wanted to do that. So then that's where I learned how to tell stories.
Along that vein, you had the Gavin James.
Yeah. Oh,
There was a sequence of those Gavin James ones that are...
yeah, because after Hold Deal, I just wanted to make a few more, and Gavin James was great because his label in particular, and there was a guy, Charlie, in their label who they were so encouraging, and they'd give me like 20 grand to be like, make a music video, and they were so trusting. They didn't pick apart my idea. They were just like a narrative short film, like the kind of Jose video, and like didn't pick it apart too much. They just gave me trust, and so I made a few videos for Gavin James. One of those videos, I ended up casting Barry Keoghan and Gabby Murphy, his girlfriend at the time. There's something else we could do with these characters. I wanted to make a short film, Made For You, and then Made For You after that kind of enabled me to go for funding with Screen Ireland. Me and Alan O'Gorman wanted to make a Cork story. We wrote Christy. We were trying to make it a feature. Then you make the short film. You find your cast. We found a cast in the cabin, which obviously blew everything wide open. We found a group of people who were amazing. It's so inspiring. They inspired the tone of Christy, made that short, also had this feature idea. So the short combined with the feature allowed us to get funding to make Christy the movie, and then spent 3 years writing, as I talked about, and yeah, here we are.
Yeah. So that storytelling and that attempt at storytelling within the music videos, like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Probably watching other music videos. Like, well, first off, I'd be quite empathetic as a person. I think I've definitely gathered this along the way. Like, I've learned this by making stuff, but I think I've always been quite observant, maybe, and just good at capturing that feeling. And like, I'm very affected by feeling. And with those music videos, because I was so into making music videos at that stage, and I remember seeing some kind of those short film type of music videos on Vimeo at the time, and I was so inspired by them. And I just remember just being like, I want to make these. So I would just watch them over and over again and take notes, like, what are they doing here? How many scenes are they shooting? How are they're intercutting these scenes? Just figuring out how they're doing it, and then trying to apply what I learned in my own music videos. And I was making music videos at such a rate that I was learning. Like, the cool thing about that was, like, making music videos was my film school, and it was the best film school because I was just going out with my camera every week making videos. Like, I was managing bands, so there was always tracks to be making music videos for. Sometimes people in film school might make one film, and it's like, yes, you will learn, but I was learning every week. I was just like, I'd see a video and be like, I want to try that, and I'd figure out how they did it. I'd try it out. It mightn't work out. There was plenty that didn't, but I was always learning from stuff. So that was a big part of it. So,
but that's the actual point, isn't it? You have to try it. And you have to study it.
Yeah,
and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And you learn on every single one of these projects.
I mean, it's just failing and going again. Like, it's like I did a talk for some transition year students in UCC. They were coming in to kind of look at the film course in there. And one of the lads asked me for advice at the end of it. And he was like, I've got 3 film ideas and I don't know which one to pick. Like, he's never made a film before. And I can't decide. And I was like, just fucking pick one. Just do it. Pick one. I was like, I'll tell you now, it will probably be terrible, but that's okay. Like, it was like if you're making a good film now, you're some sort of like freak human. Like, I was Lionel Messi or something like that. I was just like, just make it, and then make another one, and then make another one, and then show them to your friends, and like just build up that thick skin. Like, it's like, I can tell people are just so afraid of like what everyone else is going to think. That is something I had growing up. I don't know where the fuck I got it from. Like, because I would have been self-conscious playing football and stuff like that. But when it came to like making little sketches or comedy sketches or videos, I just make them and put them up on Facebook or Bebo or whatever and YouTube and share them with everyone. And looking back, I was like, God, that's a terrifying thing for other people to do. But I was like, why wasn't I afraid of that? Because I had that self-consciousness in like other places, you know. It wasn't like I was this like fearless young man across everything. Far from it, like so. But that thick skin is something directors need. You need, like, there's plenty of talented young filmmakers out there, but the ones that will succeed are the ones who are fearless, are like hustlers, and are like, I mightn't be as good as you, but I'm going to make a film, and then I'm going to make another one next week. Like, I remember being a teenager and I remember seeing films from some other filmmakers in Cork, maybe from lads a few years older than me, and thinking, oh, I could never be as good as what they're making or what they're doing. And I kind of thought that. I remember thinking that, but then kind of put that aside and was like, oh, well, I'm just going to keep doing my own thing. And cut to like 3 years later, I kind of forgot about that and noticed that, like, I had far past them out, like, you know, just from sheer, like, making, failing, trying things out, going again. You know, it's like, I mean, it's kind of the same with anything in the world, really. But, like, I think the people that will succeed are people who have the drive and the fearlessness to get better, like, you know.
And for anyone listening to this conversation, I would be suggesting check out the videos for Conor Walsh, check out the videos for Talis, check out the videos for Young Wonder, check out the videos for Dermot Kennedy. And even more importantly than that, I'm not even sure if this is online, but you haven't mentioned the one piece of film, Brendan, that you've done that had me acting in it. Well, my right arm was in it.
And your brother. Yeah, my college film, The Kid, you know, which was really interesting as well, because as a college film went, that turned out great. But that film, spent a year making that as a college project, premiered in Cork Film Festival, didn't win anything, didn't really go anywhere. And then I remember thinking, well, that was fun, but bloody hell, it took a year to make. And I've got this 25-minute film that was great for a college project, but no one really wants to see. And I was like, God, I'd much prefer to be making little music videos that are just going up online every week, and more people are seeing than they saw that, like, you know. And
as you mentioned, Hosier, 1.5 billion, I think.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous, and that didn't come with the big budget and all that kind of thing. Which just goes to show you don't need everything to be teed up and all the resources. You need to just keep on trying and trying and trying.
Anything low budget can help because there's less limitations. Sometimes budget can come with limitations and extra scrutiny and stuff like that. There's a lot more freedom with nothing.
Yeah, and you have been on projects, and I'm going to now mention some of the commercial work that you've done, where sometimes the brief and the people involved just choke the living daylights out of some of those projects.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Now, having said that, the commercial stuff, again, for anyone who's interested in this industry, is quite handy at paying the bills. I think we'll both agree that you're never going to make money unless you're incredibly lucky. I don't even think you would either, from the music side of things.
No.
You had some good success. Like, I think straight after Hosier, you did a series of ads. And again, you had never done this before, but for Borgash, this was you.
Yeah.
And was that the first time that you weren't holding the camera in your practical work, where I don't need to be doing that anymore? I'm in charge of the vision, but I don't have to be in charge of the physical recording.
It was, yeah. I'd do the odd thing, yeah. But I'd prefer not to.
Any of the commercial work that you'd like to chat about? Where in particular you learned stuff, where you learned on these commercial jobs?
Oh, I learned stuff from everything. Like, I'll just talk about them as a whole, because it gave me, well, firstly, it teaches you you get the privilege to be able to work with such big crews and all these post-production people. So you get really experience working with stuff at a big scale. You get the experience of dealing with clients and the pressure, and you get the experience of dealing with a big budget and having the pressure on your head, you know, and like, and that all really helped going into Christy, you know, like big budget, big crew, big post-production. But I was very well equipped to handle all of that because of commercials, you know, and it's storytelling at the end of the day. I think you learn from everything, to be honest. And but commercials can be very fun. It can be incredibly frustrating with clients and stuff like that. But it can be very fun, and the money is great. So I wish I was getting more.
Yeah, and while we're having that conversation, you did one for Sky Sports, I think, for the GA.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the Budweiser one with Conor McGregor that ended up being, I think, the RT pulled the plug in it, they wouldn't show it. You did an advert for Guinness, and I know you did one as well, which is a huge one, the Adidas one for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
There was another documentary, or would you call it a documentary, that little feature, that short film you did when you were in New Zealand?
No, that was a short film.
It was a short film. Okay. And that was you out of your comfort zone, away from here, different crews and everything else.
Yeah, and trying something new as well, like trying to make a dance film and trying to make something experimental, but also make it accessible, and just trying to adapt a mad, crazy dance play that kind of, only similar to Christy or something like that. But I was just trying to challenge myself. Pretty much all of my stuff has always been shot in Ireland, which someone pointed out to me. So I was like, around that time, and I was like, oh, that's true, actually. I'm going to shoot something about a load of Samoan boys in South Auckland. So it was fun.
Yeah. And if you recall as well, one of the early music videos had a whole load of footage from a trip to Italy.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, which is really nice and cool and atmospheric and everything else.
Yeah.
What's next for Brendan Canty?
Currently being commissioned to write a TV show about Robot, a character from Christy, which is really exciting. So we're working on that. I have 2 other film ideas, very early days, that I'm working on with 2 separate writers, which who knows, will they come to anything? But I'm really excited about those 2 ideas. And I'm just trying to pitch on kind of television projects and get my first TV project off the ground, because the commercial thing has dried up for me. So I think where the money will come will be from TV. So I've been trying to get into that world for a while. So bits of everything, really, trying to find what the next thing will be.
Yeah, and when you talk about the commercial work drying up for you, I just wonder, you think about the law of attraction and everything. If your heart is in a particular area, does that just pull that kind of work to you? Is your destiny kind of mapped out a little bit, that law of attraction, all that kind of thing?
I think so. And I think Isla will be, my wife, Isla, as you know, is, she's very spiritual, and she would always be like, there's a reason why every time you go for meetings in drama, you feel so good about yourself and you say you're the best version of yourself, and, all these good things keep happening to Christy and Gaeltra and Robot, this new project, and on commercials. Like, I've had a string of TV commercials which kind of have been stressful productions, or things have gone wrong or whatever. And she's like, it's kind of just a sign that, as you said, the law of attraction, it's like you've been drawn to a different place, and for example, I used to go to the Kinsale Sharks a lot. The Kinsale Sharks is a kind of an advertising festival that happens in Kinsale. It's a great place to network with other people in the advertising industry, specifically around TV commercials. And I used to go there all the time. Cut to a few years later, while I was in New Zealand, COVID happened, and then came back, ended up living in Kinsale, and the Sharks were on. I was like, oh, this is handy. It's just on my doorstep. Went down. I could feel that my heart wasn't in it. I just had no interest in doing the schmoozing and all of that sort of stuff. I was just like, because I had been in the drama world, I'd been in the film world, and I was like, I love it. And I felt suddenly that this world, obviously it's advertising, but it was tough. I felt myself having to force it, you know what I mean? So I say that works both ways, as you say, the law of attraction.
Yeah, and maybe leave that stuff to whoever is passionate about it or whatever. You're on the Win Happy podcast, Brent. And in terms of your happiness, and you're working now in a very unreliable industry in terms of, you're like your 9 to 5 and your regular pay packet and all that kind of thing. You're a married man, you have two children, you're renting a place in Kinsale, all that kind of thing. You're in your 30s, like that now.
Yeah.
With the whole lot of us used to be, thinking about getting houses and all that kind of thing. In terms of the career that you've chosen and the responsible job you have as an adult and bringing those things together and keeping yourself sane as part of the process, is that a difficult thing?
I would say so. For me personally, my happiness is couldn't be better. I'm doing what I love. I'm managing my wife doesn't work at the moment, so I'm managing to support a family of 4 by myself through directing drama and things that I love, which is I sometimes need to stop myself and remind myself that I do that, because it's kind of incredible. A lot of other directors I know have other jobs and stuff like that. It is very frustrating. Yeah, you just see other people in Kinsale with maybe, standard enough jobs, buying these big houses, and there's always frustration. You're like, how have I directed a feature film with BBC and Screen Island and I don't have much at all? There's always moments of frustration like that. But I also know that I'm close to a turning point on that front, so I'm excited for when that happens. But I think overall it would be nice to have more security. I mean, I do know that will come when it comes to TV work, which is very close, but I think at the end of the day, my family are living a great life and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think I have friends who are just fairly miserable in their jobs and they have those houses and stuff like that. So I'm glad I haven't chosen the most straightforward path, but I'm glad I chose this path because it is something different and it's doing what I love and I get to work with such amazing people while I'm doing it, so I'm definitely winning happy, I think, but it's a long road.
Yeah, and when it comes to winning, I think I know where you're after answering the what makes you happy question for me. In terms of winning, for you, what does winning feel like? What are your goals? I keep on saying to people, you're playing a soccer match, that feeling when you put the ball in the back of the net. What gives you that feeling now?
You live for lots of great moments, and me and Isla, we always remind each other that we need to celebrate things more, because like on Christy, for example, there's always moments where or even recently we were told we were commissioned to write this TV show. Those are huge little wins. And I gave this advice to someone else when they got a producer on board on their project. I was like, that's a huge moment, I was like, you got to celebrate all those moments, because I was always searching for this moment where BBC would just be like, the film's finally done, we've approved the edit, well done, congrats. And it never came. It was always just, okay, you're on to the next thing, And when the film's done, you're like, okay, we're hoping to get it into this festival, and you're stressed about that. And you're like, it's always so those things are always give you buzzes, and it's important to celebrate them. But I think what happiness really is just being as anxiety free as you can, having the time to spend with your family and friends, and just anxiety free and present is got to be, and seeing your family enjoy themselves is that's got to be happiness. And then I think all the success of doing the stuff I love brings a lot of richness to my life as well. I wouldn't say the individual awards or anything like that, but just the overall thing, being able to interact with these projects that I'm so passionate about on a daily basis is definitely happiness, not anything specific. Very long-winded answer there.
You're good at long-winded answers, Brendan.
Yeah, apparently.
You mentioned being anxiety-free. Do you get anxious?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, of course. I used to get it much more. When I went to New Zealand, it really came to a head and I needed to do something about it. And I did. And since then, I've learned how to manage it way more. And I've got a lot more skills to manage mental health and stuff like that, a lot more tools, and I use them really well. And I can manage my life way better now. And so it doesn't stop anxiety. It obviously comes and goes, but I'm pretty much anxiety free, I would say, which is such a blessing.
What was the big trick there? Any one thing you could point to?
It's a combination of stuff, but I say the main thing was just self-awareness and just learning about your body and your what's triggering you, and meditation really helped for that. And I never did meditation on a big scale. I did the most simple body scan sort of a thing, but I remember just learning, for example, 4 years ago, and for most of my life, I'd say, I could be in a conversation and someone might say something, it might trigger me, and that might brew, and I'd be anxious for the next 2 days, and I wouldn't have noticed what triggered me or what made me anxious. Whereas now I'm much more aware of what's happening in my mind and body. So like, if, for example, you said something to me now that triggered me, I can now be like, oh, that kind of made me a bit anxious, and I can kind of process it and deal with it rather than being a bit oblivious to it, because there's some things that might, it's little things like that. And then finding the balance of that, being aware of like you're spending too much time on your phone, exercise, going to the gym, finding time for just all awareness. I think it's all just being really self-aware, but also dealing with fucking shit as well, I think was really important. Or just figuring out why you are a certain way. Like, why have I put all the women in my life on a pedestal and I'm always feel like I'm there to serve them, sort of a thing, and just finding better balance in life and stuff like that. Just figuring out why you are the way you are and stuff. Kind of when you understand yourself and stuff better, it kind of really helps. And
said proudly as a man with 2 daughters.
I know. But actually one big thing also, aside from awareness, was I just felt the act of like trying to better yourself, the act of going to see a therapist, the act of going to do this breath work, because you realize you don't really, I hold my breath all the time, and I was just like learning, the act of going to try and learn how to breathe better, the act of doing any of these things, the act of just trying I think is such an amazingly understated way of shifting anything or working on anything. Like, okay, Brendan is trying to be less anxious. Just by doing it actually just gets the cogs moving or something like that. So taking initiative. Anyway.
Good man, Brendan. Well, there's no point advising your younger self, because you've done all of that and he's grown up now. What advice would you give your older self?
Good question. And I'd agree that I wouldn't give any advice to younger Brendan. Definitely don't think that just because you raised 2 kids you know everything about parenting. Like, respect your kids and their decisions in life, and give them the space to make their own choices, and trust those choices, and just keep doing what you love. I don't know. I don't think I'd give myself too much advice. It's kind of, that's your life, isn't it?
Go with the flow, Brendan.
Go with the flow, yeah, exactly.
Well, Brendan Canty, I'm dead proud of you. Thank you for coming on episode 350. We'll keep picking away with these podcasts, and well done for giving such great advice to anyone in any field who might be nervous about doing things for the first time.
Yeah. 100%.
Work hard, keep learning, keep experimenting, trust the people around you, and find the good partners to work with along the way. You don't have to have done everything before yourself, but keep learning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Loved it.
Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.